And welcome to Dente, Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Dear Sarah. So, Dear Sarah is a special little case that we mentioned a few weeks back on April Fool's as being the one that we were going to do, and then we realized it was something completely tasteless that would have been tasteless for April Fool's.
But tasteful otherwise.
Well, I mean, we can still look at it and like kind of and expand upon it is kind of what we're going with this episode. So yeah, this is on Reddit / creepypasta, which is one we've never. This is our first foray into that realm of the internet. So this is a good start to our a good first impression of the content we get from Reddit creepypasta.
Is it actually?
Yeah, I've never actually pulled from Reddit creepypasta. It's mainly been Reddit No Sleep or. Actually, I think we've only been grabbing things from No Sleep from Reddit.
What's the difference?
So No Sleep is supposed to be.
You're supposed to be
realistic horror stories.
Oh, really?
I dare my best friend to ruin my life. Nebraska. I mean, they are grounded in some realm of reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's Reddit / creepypasta, which is just like kind of just another like creepypasta avenue for people to.
But it's more fantastical.
Or yeah, it's just more creepypasta stuff. So they don't have to be. They're not bound by. It has to be realistic.
Yeah. And there's pictures of pasta. Oh man.
Oh yeah. I don't actually know if that's the case. Is that the case?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. But yeah, so we're doing Dear Sarah. I guess like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it's basically a suicide note.
You should not laugh after saying that.
I don't laugh like
I know.
like
It's
that.
an awkward
like,
laugh.
yeah, it's like it's our narrator Sarah is describing how she encountered her best friend a week ago who committed suicide, and then we cut to like the present day of this writing. And she's been talking to Sarah via email correspondence somehow, and no, she's not talking to Sarah. She's talking to her friend who is Kira, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kira. And like at first she's like, is this some kind of horrible prank? Like, what the fuck are you talking through my dead friend's email? And Kira's trying to convince her that like death is actually pretty awesome and you should do it. And then she decides that, even if this is some asshole troll on the internet, like, it's just kind of proving their point that I don't want to exist in this world anymore. And so, bye mom, bye dad, bye family, and then you find out it's a suicide note at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rundown, basically.
It was the quickest rundown I've ever done on this entire show.
It's only like 2 pages long, the story. It's by Teller of Tales 2. Like Teller and Tales are capitalized, and it's all one word. And 2 is a number.
And also done by the review cultists as well.
No, because actually
Sarah in it.
I know.
I
Put my foot down. That joke is not included in this one.
Oh, sure it is.
Sure, okay.
If there's a Sarah in any story, it's your story. I don't care.
No, I don't want this story.
The internet can have it.
As written, I don't want the story. But that's so the reason why we're actually doing this one is because I had, after reading it the first time, I had some thoughts on like how to make it not like kind of a cringy like fictional suicide note. Like I felt like it could be expanded on to not make it like kind of skeevy like that. Because like that whole topic of like making a fictional suicide note, yeah, it's going to be shocking and like it's going to be it is technically a horror thing or an immersion level thing, but like I don't know, it's just there's like a boundary that you shouldn't cross sometimes. At least I feel personally. I'm not sure if that's like that's just a personal opinion on that. It's just like I don't know if you should do that, but that's kind of what we're here to talk about. But our episodes would not be complete without everyone expects the Grand Inquisitions at this point. So yeah, we are still going to nitpick the hell out of the story, out of this suicide note.
Or the 5 words that were put there.
Again, it was 2 pages long.
Mm-hmm. Use size 45 font.
Alright, anyway. So, I dragged it down to the dustbin. Oh, okay. I dragged it down to the dustbin and clicked empty trash can. Pretty sure trash can is 2 words. Just say it.
I don't know.
Also, is dustbin... If that's the case, is dustbin not 2 words as well? It's like a really nitpick thing.
It's literally the recycle bin.
No, yeah, I get that.
That's what they're trying for, but yeah.
They say dustbin and then trash can.
Yeah, that just adds a layer of confusion.
Yeah.
They can possibly rename it whatever the hell they want. I don't think you can. Can you?
I mean, there's a default, but...
Okay.
Into the delete folder because it's email.
Yeah, it doesn't even go to like the trash bin on.
Oh, that's true.
On your
It's an
desktop.
email.
It goes to the trash.
Yeah.
I think on my account it's the trash or the junk mail or to be deleted mail or something, or like deleted.
No, it's deleted. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's
Or
deleted.
trash. Yeah, one of the two.
Depends on the browser you're on or on the.
Regardless, you're not dragging anything onto your desktop to delete it.
You're hitting a button. Delete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just like that with the words.
Yeah, it's the same way the strong bad does it. Just deleted.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like that. There's no dragging happening.
Yeah. Exactly.
So my next one. Tears were specking my cheeks and falling onto the keyboard. So fun fact I found out, specking as a verb for specks, like specks of tears on one's cheek, doesn't actually exist as a proper word or even like a verb.
Until now.
Because usually specking is like specking as in either speculation, like specking, or like what are the specs of this? Like like the specifications, yeah, like that kind of stuff. That's what specking is, like a verb for. It's actually not a verb for like specks of like paint or specks of tears or water or something like that.
Well, it could be that she's crying, but she's not actually crying, so they're speculative tears.
Maybe. I actually do have some
Bit of a stretch there.
I do actually have some suggestions for it though. Dotting your cheek, dripping down or dripping on my cheeks, or even flowing down my cheeks and falling onto the keyboard. Might be a better set of
water
choices.
falling out of your eyes.
Yeah, just spraying.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad that we're dissecting and like making fun of a suicide.
I'm sorry, we're being critically silly here.
On a suicide note, but like it's fictional.
Yeah, it's fictional.
At least I hope to God it is.
Gotta be.
We don't know what happened to Teller of Tales 1.
Wow.
Really? You're going there.
We're just gonna move on.
Going there.
We're just gonna move on.
Just choose a favorite number, that's all.
So the next one is, with the right combination, all you need to do is sit down somewhere closed and quiet, like a bathroom or the back of a car, and breath it in. Should be breathe it in, because it's missing E.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's my grammar positions for the story. Mikey, do you got anything?
Oh, yeah.
Do you get some front ends and front butts?
Yep, and a front sew.
Oh.
Those are rare.
Yeah. The front sew was first. So, here we go.
So you had a bad day.
I refused to come out of my room for a few days. Eventually, my parents just started leaving trays of food on the other side of the door for me. So, why was it, after all this, with Kira's death so fresh in my heart and memory, when I was only just beginning to realize that she was gone, that I received a new email from her address, which had been sent only 2 hours ago?
was gonna say, you need to take a breath there first. Is that all one word, or what? Was that all one sentence?
The so sentence, yes.
Holy shit!
It can be broken up a few times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
A little bit. Good job, though, powering through that.
Alright, and then we have a front butt, which is just after the empty trash can that review cultist mentioned.
Yep.
So I dragged it down to the dustbin and clicked empty trash can, but almost immediately another email appeared. So,
Yeah.
Like, them dragging it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be another email anyways, so
Yeah.
it doesn't... It's whatever.
yeah. And then I have a front and a front butt right after.
Is it and butt? Or butt and?
And butt.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Of course, it was a silly thing to say. What could the police do? And it's not like it was illegal to use someone's email address, but I was very upset at the time.
I thought it was going to be and but. I was very upset at the time.
Also, slight actual thought here. Cyberbullying is like a proper thing to call the authorities about.
Yeah.
If somebody is using somebody else's email and like trying to convince you to commit suicide.
Yeah.
They're talking about just the use of someone else's email in itself. Like, for example, if you gave me your email address and password, I could log in it without me being charged, because that's not a crime in itself.
But the context of what's going on in the story, you can definitely get them on that.
Yeah.
But again, our narrator isn't quite thinking straight at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, and then I have another front butt. I knew it was impossible, but something in me sensed her, however ridiculous that might sound.
Very ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a front butt.
A front bow? With a little bow on it? It's like bow tie?
On the front part, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I combined butt and sew there, because I got a front butt
bow
and sew and another butt. So,
Nice.
Maybe it is a lie, but even so, even if that wasn't really Kira, even if that was a prankster, wouldn't that cruelty in and of itself prove how dark the world is? So either way, the answer's the same. But I'm sure it's Kira. It has to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, her mental state is deteriorating at this point in the narrative. There you go. Her writing is also deteriorating a little bit.
You're
Slipping away.
using the excuse that it's how the character writes.
The character writes. The entire story is a suicide note, as you find out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which actually kind of caught me off guard. I did not when I first read this. I did not realize it was going that direction until it did.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of my Grammar Inquisitions. Gamer.
Surprisingly, neither of you got what I got, which is the only one I got.
All right.
I like to leave something for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is then?
No. But I had to leave it there.
I knew what it is. I know what it is.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, I want to let you bring it up.
Well, why don't you show me up though?
No.
This one time you can. I'm allowing you to take my thunder.
You know what? I have been too. I insinuate myself on your opinions too much. You have the spotlight, sir.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How possibly kind of you.
I try. Occasionally, I try.
Mm-hmm. Occasionally. What kind of putrid troll would hack into a dead person's email address and send them messages to their loved ones? ! Mm-hmm. Should be ! Question mark.
Yes.
Because you're saying it loudly and it is still a question.
Exactly.
Or if it's a statement.
What kind of person is how it starts.
Yeah. And she's like, it's a rhetorical question, but
it's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it.
So goddamn, as soon as I said rhetorical, it's like, rhetorical question, Woodcock. It's from a movie.
I figured as much. Just one I don't know.
All right. So, then on to actual thoughts, if that's the last of the grammar positions.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone express the actual thoughts now. There was only one line written in the handwriting I knew was hers. Call the police. Whatever you do, don't come inside. I immediately went around to the back door, entered, and then went up to Kira's room. Way to go. Just ignore your friend's message.
Yep.
Yep. Then move on to the next one.
I feel like we talked enough about that one.
Yeah.
I
mean, again, not to sound callous, because again, I would be terribly concerned, but I'd be at least calling the cops as I was running in. Like, she just goes, and completely ignores what her friend told her to do, and just goes inside. Even if it wasn't, a suicide that was going on, if, her friend left it there, because somebody was inside the house, that shouldn't be there or something like that, maybe some kind of, hostage situation or mugging, call the cops while you're doing it or something, while you're going in, at least.
Just has a one-track mind right now, just to protect her friend.
Yeah. And then we go into this part. At first I thought she was floating above the ground. But I now know that I was in such a state of shock that my mind couldn't accept the picture that was right in front of me. It was only some moments later that I realized she was... I can barely bring myself to write it. She was gone. The eyes of that face, empty, glassy. They weren't hers. They weren't hers. I actually really like this creepy switch in perspective. Because first, we as a reader think that this is something supernatural. At least that's how I got it, initially. But then, as you keep reading, you realize, much like the narrator in that moment, that it's a far worse situation that's going on. It's not until the next paragraph that we get all complete confirmation, though, or through plain statement, that the character commits suicide. But the description of what the narrator sees first and then realizes what she's actually seeing, for me, was more than enough to send a chill down my spine. As I was reading that, I was like, oh, it's like, shit, she's floating across it. Oh, she's But
it immediately tells you that it's not floating.
Yeah, but you get when first we get that, and then she says no. It wasn't until I realized that she wasn't floating, and then
But it's at first I thought she was floating, which means by saying that statement she's not floating.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was reading it, I didn't catch that part,
yeah.
Or it wasn't until the second sentence that part caught up to me because I was kind of in the moment as well.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I found it a very cool creepy transition between those perspectives. So they give the story points for that. But then we have the next one,
which removes 17 points.
No. I don't know what it was that drew me back to my laptop. I was drawn to it almost hypnotically. The email was still there. I didn't read it. I dragged it down to the dustbin and clicked empty trash can. But almost immediately, another email appeared. Sarah, why did you delete my message? Taken aback, I replied quickly. If nothing else, the fact that Kira, I do in quotes, is responding to things that she shouldn't be aware of is creepy proof in itself. Either the hacker also has a team viewer on Sarah's computer, where they can view what's going on the screen, or again, it is actually a haunted email, or the email is being controlled by a ghost, and supernatural powers are afoot. Again, another creepy kind of moment like that. It's a nice little creepy touch too, the fact that how would she know that was the case? kind of thing. And then the ending. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye, Mom and Dad. I'm sorry I have to leave you behind. Goodbye, my little brother. I'll miss you. I love you. I love you all. Well, that was grim. And honestly, like I said earlier, I didn't really see it coming until the very end. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't think it was actually just going to end as, yep, no, she just goes and commits suicide. This is the suicide note she left. I was like, oh, it was going actually kind of interesting for me with the ghost emailing responses back to the narrator and then suicide note. Don't get me wrong, it is creepy, but also incredibly tragic. I don't know if I like how this turned out in earnest. On the one hand, it's an immersive piece, but that's going to set off a lot of people who don't want that level of immersion in storytelling. And I can see people finding this very distasteful. I think a way to save it from that kind of iffy territory would be to have it go wherein Sarah is investigating whether this really is Kira's ghost or someone has her info and is going full like cyberbully. Like maybe have Sarah leave the emails and go find Kira's stuff. Like maybe she finds her laptop or something. Maybe it's gone missing, and so there's a kind of a clue as to like maybe somebody's taken it, or maybe Kira has taken it as a ghost. Like leave that kind of like that mystery that like is it Kira's ghost or is it some cyberbully? Like and have that mystery kind of build up.
I mean, the mystery's still there.
It is still there, but
it could be either way.
Yeah,
still.
But I just don't like the I don't know the whole like her just committing suicide like that abruptly.
Yeah,
seemed really again distasteful or like just kind of unsatisfying, even as a narrative from a writing point of view. And I think like the story of her being haunted by either a ghost, a demon, who assuming the role of Kira, or some human cyberbully. Like some cyber monster, like that's like human element kind of thing, and trying to figure out which one is actually going on could be really interesting and creepy in its own right. Mm-hmm. And maybe even like if you want to go that really dark route and have her commit suicide at the very end of that, sure. It just seemed like she just kind of immediately went like after like she just immediately went to, yeah, no, this is like I totally buy into this. I'm going to commit suicide now. Goodbye. It seemed very unfulfilling from a reading point of view. Mm-hmm. Even if you want to take it that dark in that way. So like I feel like there should have been a little bit more involved with like her figuring out what was going on. Yeah. Not just quickly and blindly accepting her dead friend.
Well, there's a lot of provers there that was her friend.
Yeah.
All like the stuff that they said, there's no a way that a hacker would know all that like random stuff from their childhood.
Unless it's somebody they know.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe.
Or just a stalker.
Yeah, it could be a stalker situation as well. Yeah, it's just something like, and then like we find out why did Kira commit suicide, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe she was having the same kind of situation. Like maybe the stalker was going after her or something, or driving her nuts. I don't know. It's just like I get like the author might have been going for like kind of a shock value thing, mm-hmm. Because that is an element of horror that is you can do, but it's a fine line for that for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the times you kind of find it tasteless, or like it's a cheap scare or a cheap disturbing factor, and most people either. More often than not, people find that more disgusting than truly like scary, like in a fun or good way. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just feel like maybe a little bit more expansion on like her trying to figure out what's going on with the emails mm-hmm. would have been better than just a 2-page suicide note explaining why she did it or kind of why she did it. Mm-hmm.
It seems they both kind of did it for the same reason, just the world's fucked up.
Yeah, the world's... And if you want to go with that route, like, as the moral of the story, like, again, there's you could expand upon that before just cutting to like, yeah, I'm just going to commit suicide now.
I don't think there's any moral here.
I don't know. I mean, like, not moral, but I mean, like that. If you want to go that theme of like the world is fucked up and dark, and that's why like it like basically go that nihilistic route of like the world's a dark, depressing place, and you should just end it. Because like I mean, horror writers have been writing about that for years, for centuries. Poe, Lovecraft.
Others.
Yeah, other ones that I can't recall right now, but I know they exist. Like Barker probably even wrote stuff like that. But yeah, so that's honestly my actual thoughts. It's just like I felt like the story, like I didn't like that it just abruptly ended and it was just a suicide note. I feel like it could have been expanded on into an actual story, and you could have had the like dark ending where she does just kind of end herself, but have there be more before that.
Yeah.
Like lead up to that kind of thing than just like I'm just going to buy all into this and just the world's screwed up and I'm just going to commit suicide. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Mikey, what do you got for actual thoughts?
Alright. So, the part that I liked about the story was the talking to someone who's theoretically dead.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, it's more of like a Ouija board effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, isn't that the plot of Serial Experiment Lane? The anime? I think that might be it.
I can't remember.
If I recall correctly, that one was basically a girl starts talking through like a internet chat or something like that. A girl from her school that committed suicide like 2 weeks prior, or like some weeks prior, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Very similar kind of plot there, but I haven't actually finished that series, so I don't know how it ends.
Okay.
But yeah, like you were saying.
Yeah, like I'm saying, the whole idea of talking to someone who's dead isn't new, but it's just using a more modern medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have liked it to be even more modern, so say instant messaging.
Yeah, or yeah.
Because
like texting to that.
Emails are still a thing.
they are, but
They haven't gone the way of 8 tracks,
but
cassette tapes.
But the speed at which, like, she's getting information, like, we don't know
it seems like really quick. Like,
yeah.
Like, time isn't really passing. And, like, this kind of feels like it is an instant messaging thing, even though it's like she's just getting emails, like, quickly.
Yeah, but if you're just on your email page situation, your inbox, when you send an email, it gets there pretty much immediately. And when they send an email, it gets to you pretty much immediately. So you could use it like an instant messaging situation. It's just weird.
And because it's a ghost, maybe like as soon as she like Sarah writes up her stuff, like takes some time to write up hers messages, sends it, and then it instantly comes back like with a reply. Because again, ghosts, so they can do it like super fast, like it's, like instant correspondence on their end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it just that was my issues, that it could be more instant messaging and
yeah. The instant messaging thing I think would also give us more of a so like I said earlier, like just said with the email thing, like what if the ghost is like, because it's a ghost and supernatural, it instantly shows up. That's a little bit more proof that it is something supernatural or something really weird is happening, because she's getting instant replies to emails that are taking her like 5 minutes to type up. If it's a messaging, if it's more like that, like that kind of quick direct thing, that one's a little bit harder to pinpoint down on that it's something supernatural or that it's somebody who has their account, because the instant messaging, right?
yeah.
So if it straight up said, like, after typing all this out, as soon as I hit enter, 1 second later, this huge paragraph came back.
Yeah, and
how is that possible?
Exactly, like responding exactly to like what I just said, like how they know it. And it's a bit of a stretch, but I could like it was Miss Old Jenkins the whole time, like pull the Scooby Doo thing, where again like they have a team viewer, so like they're reading what
As
she's
you're typing, so
and
preemptively,
yeah, exactly, like do that kind of thing, like basically like that's how I could see that being done in the real world, like being done in like a more realistic fashion.
Yeah,
but yeah, like otherwise it's like it's still hard to pinpoint down. But then the instant messaging is even harder because instant messaging. It's in the name.
Yeah. Then a couple of ways I was thinking to potentially change it. Would be like potentially get rid of the first suicide.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to be a suicide. It could still be death. Like, it could be an accident or something along those lines.
Could be change the whole story, though. Because the ghost is attempting to tell her to do the same thing.
Well, but you could have the ghost based attempts like, come join me in the afterlife.
Yeah, or it could be like she's gone missing. Like she's not, like they don't know what's happened to her, Kira.
Yeah.
Like she's just kind of like it seems like she just kind of like either somebody came in and took her from her house, or she just left her house and she never came back. So we could have something like that. Or yeah, like I said, like it could be like kind of like somebody broke in and killed her.
Yeah.
Or an accident, like you said.
Yeah. Well, you could add time between the death and actually getting messages from the old account.
Okay.
Like
there was time.
A week.
But more time, is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
You could add more time and be like, oh, and then it makes it more like, well, why am I getting messages from this account even more so because it's been so long?
Yeah. Or I'll have it even cut the time down even more, cut the time down. Have it be right after the funeral. Like just go right, just lean right into like kind of like the creepy and kind of really soon kind of factor, and just like as soon as she gets home from the funeral, she starts getting correspondence with Kira, or with Kira quotations.
And then the other thought I had, which was basically you could theoretically get rid of the suicide in all shapes and forms. Keep the fact that the friend is dead, and just have it like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Having a conversation with them,
and then they find, I see.
They find out that they're dead.
Yeah, that's the shock at the end.
Yeah,
I think honestly, the big thing is just don't have it be like a suicide letter from of the narrator, because I think the suicide in the fiction, the suicide of the friend is okay for the story. I'm not saying it's okay, but in real life, but in the story, it's narratively it's okay there. But the fact that our narrator just essentially just wrote a suicide note, and that's basically our story. I think that's the big issue. I was having anyway. But yeah, definitely making it more of a narrative, making it more of a a tale, that the person is drawing down for the story, or for even what is it? What's the word? When they do video logs for something's sake, cannot remember the word for it. Posterity. When they're writing a story for posterity, kind of thing. Because this is a fucked up situation. I'm jotting down all the information that I've got here in this in this kind of setup.
When you said for something's sake, the only thing I could think of was for fuck's sake. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
And I thought keepsake, which doesn't really work either.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the idea. I like that idea of them corresponding with Kira, Sarah corresponding with Kira, and Kira starts acting kind of funny in the dialogue. What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, you should just kill yourself. I gotta go with that. And then she doesn't go fall for that, and she thinks it's really weird. And then she starts she goes and asks somebody, or goes on Facebook or some social media thing, and looks up Kira. And yeah, the Kira's been Kira's page is a memorial page now. That would be fucked up in a good way, because it gives you that oh shit, she was talking to a ghost or somebody dead for the whole time. That's a cool situation. And yeah, so you basically hide the fact that Kira's been dead from the beginning to leave it to the end of the story.
Yeah, just leave subtle hints.
Yeah, and again, have her start acting weird in the dialogue, or in the conversations they're having.
Yeah,
you're onto something there, Mikey. I think.
So that's the end of my thoughts.
All right.
Gamer, what do you got?
Not much. The only real note I wrote down is just like, well, before I even read this, you sort of told me that it's essentially a fictional suicide note.
Yeah.
Before I even read it.
Well,
so
yeah,
as I'm reading it, I'm assuming it's going to be that, but it didn't feel like it until the last sentence.
And
that's the sentence that ruined it.
Right? Yeah.
It really did.
That's
Because up until it was fine. Like, it had spooky aspects. It was weird that the character was, like, leaning way into it way too easy. And yes, all these other ways that we've talked about it are a lot more interesting and not as skeevy. But yeah, it's just, it kind of ruined it. Then it just
abruptly ends. And just,
yeah,
like,
it doesn't end, it stops.
That's
the problem.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
I think we've all been having with it, is like, it just...
Pretty much.
Yeah, like, this story was going well. Like, it was going creepy and stuff like that. And then it just... I'm just going to go commit suicide now. Goodbye.
Yeah, like, it adds in this supernatural aspect and goes nowhere with it.
Yeah, it just...
It's like, either keep it all mundane or put in supernatural stuff and actually expand on it a little bit before you get rid of it.
Exactly, yeah. It feels like squandered potential.
Yeah.
So, and no any ideas, like, other than just, like, don't do that ending?
No, it's bad. Don't. Yeah, like, there needs to be some sort of investigation going on, or...
Or some further, or further elaboration on, like, their conversation, like, not just, like, skimming through it, like this story kind of does. Kind of, again, suffering from a little bit of short pasta syndrome.
Well, also, that is the intent of the reason the story's there, is because it's meant to be a short note to explain why things are happening.
And why she's going to commit suicide.
Yes. So,
like,
if it was a novel, it wouldn't make sense.
Well, I'm not even asking for a novel. I'm just asking for, like, a decently sized, I'm just not asking, like, I just don't... It really is kind of hard. Like, I want to, like, say, like, I don't want the, like, I don't like the fact that it's a suicide note, but that was obviously the intent of the story. So the writer, like, obviously had that intent. So it's like, okay,
if that is the intent, it has to stay short, and I understand that.
And if that's the point of the story, then, or that's the point of your piece, then all right, that's fair. Just don't expect a lot of people to care for it after they read that ending.
Yeah. And it's like you said, like, it's shock value, and that is what horror does. A lot of the horror staples nowadays are commonplace because back when they were new, they were like, "Ugh, why'd you do that? That's risky. Why'd you even bother?" Yeah,
I think this one falls. I'm not entirely sure because Stephen King did, like, an essay about horror called, like, Dance Macabre, and, like, he referenced, like, multiple, like, different types of horror, like atmospheric horror and visceral horror. And visceral horror is, like, the shock value stuff, like the gory graphics or like the jump scary stuff. And that's definitely what this one leans into, but it just kind of...
It's not really jump scary.
It's a cheap... it's a cheap, like, shock, really. Because it's... Like, whenever you kind of touching on, like, the fact, like whenever you touch on, like, something morbid of, like, this kind, where it's, like, a suicide note, you're going to invoke that kind of, like, that, like, distressed, disturbed kind of emotions for your story. But it's kind of a cheap way to do it, I feel, without any kind of, like, extra context.
Yeah.
And again, the story was going well, or, like, the ideas in the story were really good, except... then it just, like you said, just stops.
It just stops, yeah. So, long story short, the way that all three of us seem to think is just it would be better if the main character didn't just jump on board and go for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that
and I do like your story the best so far, Mikey, where someone hasn't talked to someone in a long time, they get in touch with them on Facebook or whatever, then maybe go like, oh, well, maybe I'll see you next time I'm in your town or whatever. And then they go to, like, do a surprise, like, and they go to their house, and it's just
for sale,
family there.
or it's for sale.
Yeah.
Like, and then they go and ask, like, they go find out where the family went, and then they find out that the family moved after she committed suicide or something.
Yeah, which was years before.
Yeah, and that would be great. Like,
yeah, and that would,
in the story,
I would even be happy for it ending there at that point.
That would be, because at that point, like, that's a true blue ghost story right there.
Yeah.
Like, Ghost in the Machine or Ghost Correspondence kind of thing. Kind of almost to his phone.
Right?
A little bit.
That's why it's awesome.
But yeah, and then again, like even if you don't want to go that route, go that route, or if you want to go kind of more like have her like spiral into madness and then like commit suicide or depression, have a little bit more of a spiral than just a wall that she slides down.
It's not really a spiral. It's more like just a cliff. Just everything's fine. Just like immediately you get like huge gravity and just smack down.
Yeah, it just feels like like you need if you're gonna do like kind of if you're gonna have this like setup and then don't have it end like the way it did. Have it kind of start her like spiraling down the investigation down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
of what's going on.
Even if at the end of that she comes to the same conclusion, fine.
But
it's so quick and jarring.
There's no context. There's no real explanation or context.
The character doesn't stay around long enough for me to care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And that's about it.
All right. Well, I'm glad we did touch on it because again, it's something that comes up every so often in like creepy stories and creepypastas, where like somebody will just do like make something part of their story and then just stop, or like have something like go a really weird way, or like it has potential, but then doesn't it doesn't really quite hit the mark. So I'm glad we got to like at least discuss this one and like go back to it, because when I first read it for like. Because again, I was choosing it for the April Fools because it had Sarah at the title to trick you.
Yeah,
and then I read it.
You're
and I was
obsessed with Sarah's.
And then I read it. I was like, oh, no, that's distasteful. But at the same time, after I finished reading it, I was like, I had some thoughts about it, and I like wanted to get that out. I didn't want to just leave it in the trash bin, but
or the dust bin.
The dustbin, yeah. Collecting dust. So I'm glad we got to discuss it and approach this and try and figure out a way to make it more interesting or more creepy and not just have it be a suicide note. So on to final thoughts with that. Yeah, I don't think I can recommend this one as is, just primarily because it's effectively a fictionalized suicide note. As I've been saying over and over again on this episode.
I almost wanted to have a counter of how many times suicide is mentioned in this.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that in itself, to me, is just a bit tasteless without some sort of warning or context or meaning to it. I did actually look on like the Reddit just to see if there's like a trigger warning or something like that. I'm not saying that it needs the trigger warning necessarily. It's just like it feels like one of those things that like a lot of people reading that would have like been like, "Fuck you, Teller of Tales 2," like just kind of like really kind of. Like it's the kind of thing that like I hear a lot of people like say like one of the things they don't like about creepypastas is because half the time it is like something really skeevy, just for shock value. I was like, oh cool, I'm never reading your stories again, that kind of thing. Like I've actually had a couple of people like when I talk to them about creepypastas, that's sometimes their experience is just like they're on Reddit No Sleep or they're on creepypasta.com or whatever, and they're like reading this cool the story that starts out kind of cool, but then it just turns out to be like. Again, a mass suicide, or like something really skeevy, and they're like, "Cool, I'm not reading this story anymore."
Yeah,
you need a little bit more context. You need to make it a little bit less tasteless.
I mean, that is horrifying because you're putting an emotion in someone that they don't want there.
Yeah, and there is definitely a crowd for that. Like, there's a reason why like shock value horror is still a thing. Like there, and like I even kind of. Share like that kind of interest in some of that, but like the bulk public or the bulk like people, I feel don't like care for that kind of thing. They want a little bit more substance to their horror. Where this feels just more like flair or just like kind of a spectacle rather than any true substance to it. But yeah, I definitely get behind. I could definitely get behind. Definitely get behind.
Definitely.
Sorry. I can get behind a redo or expansion of the story where it didn't have such an abrupt dead end, but
wow.
And there was more involved before the drop, before like she comes to that conclusion. Like you said, gamer, like yeah, like it's fine if they do have that ending, but we need a little bit more before that to get to that conclusion.
Yeah.
I'd also like to know a little bit more about Sarah before, like, because otherwise, like, right at this point, like, why do I care about Sarah other than she's a poor girl who lost her best friend a week ago and is now suffering from either a ghost or some psychotic idiot on cyberbullying her, kind of thing. Like,
I kind of want you to go on for 20 minutes explaining all these character aspects about her. Be like, why would I care? I know nothing about her.
No, that's it. That's exactly it. That's all that we get. It's just like, and that's through insinuation from what we've read, from what we read in 2 pages. So like, yeah, I would like to actually know a little bit more about her before she dies. Like, I'd like make us feel for her. Like, don't just like, yeah. That's my final thought. I can't recommend it as is, but I'd love to see a revamp of the story and make it a story, not just a suicide note. That's what I'm getting to. That's really my core complaint about this story, is that it's a suicide note and not an actual story.
Yeah.
But it didn't tell us that at the beginning, and only dropped that on us at the end.
Well, if it told you at the beginning, there'd be no shock at the end.
Yeah, but still, it wasn't a good shock.
If it was told at the very beginning, it would have the same experience I had of you telling me that it was a suicide note from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, that was also stemming from the fact that, like, it was part of the it was also kind of, it was darkly funny that, like, we almost did this for April Fool's episode. So yeah. Anyways, Mikey, what's your final thoughts and recommendations?
Well, I'll reiterate, the part that I liked was the talking with someone who's dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that gets a lot of work in media and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
it's a common genre.
It's a common trope.
Yeah.
And it works when done well.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem here is that the protagonist, Sarah, takes everything at face value and says, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea."
And just like, it's like, this could be somebody, but I feel in my soul that this is Kira. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah,
no, you should question this a little bit more, Sarah.
I mean, she did say shit where it's like, remember how your aunt is always like been abused by her husband, and like she knows this personal shit.
Yeah, but I again, like Mikey pointed out a little earlier, that could have been it could be a stalker that's been like stalking both of them, like Kira and Sarah,
and their entire extended family.
Yeah, well, I mean, social media nowadays, like, it's not that hard to find personal information like that.
Yeah, but when was this out? They're using emails. It's ancient.
It's not bad. Even like within the last 10 years, that kind of information could be found. Yeah, or it could be, again, like, to elaborate on the story of the mystery. Maybe it's somebody they know, like that's secretly a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, so other than that one thing that I liked, I didn't like the rest of the story, so I'm not recommending it.
Fair. For me, it felt more like it's a trailer of a movie that tells you the entire plot of the movie compared to actually watching a movie.
Oh, so most trailers nowadays?
Yeah, pretty much. Because like it tells you everything you need to know in like a couple of minutes instead of sitting down and having time to learn, get to know the characters and see their struggles going through the story and whatever happens at the end. So it starts and stops real quick.
Yeah.
And because of that, it didn't grab me. The subject material itself is, as we've said, kind of sketchy at best.
Yeah.
So I can't really recommend it either. Although with a rewrite of Sarah, like, actually talking with her ghost friend and, like, I don't know, checking to see if she's nuts, like, get someone else in on it to see if it's actually happening.
Yeah, even having a second opinion, basically having a second voice, a second set of eyes in the game, in the story, would again maybe quantify, like, is she actually, like, hallucinating? Is this actually real, or is this a ghost?
Yeah. So regardless, there's a lot of ways it could have went. It's just
it chose.
It could have been twisted so many ways. It's just the one way it twisted, it broke.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so I can't recommend it as is, but I like the idea of conversing with a ghost and the things that can happen with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was this week's episode. If you liked what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, or if this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're on iTunes, so leave us a rating and review. Help us spread like a virus. You can also talk to us on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. Gamer is at the gamer in yellow without the W because they took his last character.
Yeah, just need one more.
Yep.
They have to take it for the @ sign.
I don't know. And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails. Go to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. And if you would like to help support the show, you can become a patron. Go to aldenterigamortis.
Do you want to spell that?
Go to aldenterigamortis on Patreon and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier currently. With special episodes, special content, and early access to episodes about 2 days before they air. And to our patrons that are helping support the show already, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to the listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without you, we wouldn't really have much of a show. So, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.